On today's news, FTR reminisce about that time they wanted to beat up a WWE producer, a top WWE star has revealed they need surgery, a former WWE star makes their AEW debut, and more. I had to review Raw yesterday, and I have to review NXT later today on the WrestleTalk podcast channel too. I changed my mind, I don't like this week anymore, but you know what'll make me feel better? Hitting that subscribe button and enabling notifications so you're always updated when the newest videos go live.
Support WrestleTalk!
AEW Dynamite and Rampage last week emanated from Greensboro, North Carolina, and it seems the nostalgia of being in the Greensboro Coliseum brought back some fond memories for FTR while they were going by the revival in WWE. Fond memories like wanting to kill someone. Speaking on the Elite POV podcast, Dax Harwood told the story of when they were in the Greensboro Coliseum before in WWE. I walked by this area and I remember, oh, this is the room where a producer in WWE said something to Cash, and he got so mad he came to me and was like, I'm going to fight this guy. I said, alright, let's do it. We both waited, and when we got done filming, we were going to beat the out of him. He kept filming forever, and we were like, whatever. That's terrifying. Cash Wheeler then mentioned that they waited for 30 minutes for him because they were so determined. Dax said they stared at the producer the whole time, and he knew what was coming. And Cash finished off by saying he was purposefully trying to stay as busy as possible. He knew I was going to kill him. What the f***? What a nice story to tell at Christmas time for the grandkids, right? Speaking of grandparents, Goldberg hasn't been seen in WWE since his match with Bobby Lashley at Crown Jewel in a no-holds-barred Falls Count Anywhere match. However, he did recently appear on the Pat McAfee show, where he revealed that his shoulder for the past several years has been severely beaten up and he needs surgery on it. I won't tell everybody on national radio or television that my shoulder has been destroyed for at least 3 years, 5 years, 8 years. I need surgery, but I'll get it when I'm done. I'll get it when I'm finished. It's one of those things. Here's the deal. If Vince calls me tomorrow morning and says, hey Goldberg, we need you in a month, what am I gonna do if I get surgery, right? I'll get it done when it's time. And Goldberg being done might not actually be that far away, as he also revealed on the show that under his current contract, he has one more match left in WWE. So the next Saudi show then, I suppose. Who do you think Goldberg will face in his last match, for now, until he inevitably re-signs a 10-year deal and wrestles well into his 60s? Brock Lesnar, again? Drew McIntyre, again? Bobby Lashley, again? Big E? Let me know in the comments because I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere for the first 30 minutes after this video goes live. Thank you for being an awesome pledge hammer on our Patreon page, Abominable Michael Abbott. You can get your own shout out and loads of extra bonus content by visiting us at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Yesterday, AEW underwent tapings for episodes of AEW Dark and AEW Dark: Elevation, and a former WWE star made their debut for the company. Jake Atlas was released by WWE on August 6th, and since then wrestled at Evie's Big Gay Brunch Chicago and Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor 18 in September, before announcing he was stepping away from wrestling for the time being for his mental well-being. Now going by his real name Kenny Marquez, Atlas made his debut at the tapings, wrestling Serpentico. After the match, Tony Khan reportedly came to the stage and shook Marquez's hand, a regular indication that someone has been signed to the company. However, nothing has been announced as of yet from AEW. Atlas signed with WWE in 2019 and worked on NXT and 205 Live during his tenure, but aside from brief feuds, he wasn't featured very regularly. Best of luck to Marquez in his future. In yesterday's news video, I mentioned that several top executives were absent from this week's episode of Raw, including Vince McMahon, Michael P.S. Hayes, Kevin Dunn, and Bruce Prichard. However, new reports have emerged surrounding the status of the latter of the bunch in particular. According to Wrestling Observer Radio, most of the names that were absent from this week's show were taken as a precaution surrounding the current COVID outbreak in the company, that, once again, they've now stopped testing for. Just a reminder. However, in the case of Bruce Prichard, he is reportedly dealing with an undisclosed health concern. There is no word on the specifics of it, but Prichard reportedly was sick a few weeks ago and has missed other shows prior to this week's episode. In an earlier report from Ringside News, it was noted that nobody knew why Prichard was absent, but the WWE lead writer Ed Koskey was filling in for him while he was away, wishing Bruce a speedy recovery. Also in yesterday's news was the report surrounding Omos, as he was reportedly in Detroit for Raw and had previously been advertised for a match against AJ Styles that night before being flown home before the show began. Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio noted that Omos and AJ Styles' match that took place at the Madison Square Garden house show the previous night was perceived to be absolutely horrible. So it's possible that WWE management simply decided to not do a horrible rematch on TV. It's worth noting as well that previous reports from earlier in the year pointed out that the original plans were to split up AJ Styles and Omos in this year's draft, but they were put on hold because management felt Omos wasn't ready yet for a singles run. So perhaps this decision to not have Omos versus Styles could be another check in the column of Omos not being ready if the house show match they had also wasn't good. But it could also still be in relation to the COVID outbreak too. That's always a possibility. Also on yesterday's news was the whole story about WWE not doing COVID tests anymore at all. Fun. Dave Meltzer has clarified WWE's current COVID protocol, saying that the isolation period for vaccinated talent is now 5 days instead of 10, which lines up with new CDC guidelines. However, they must also test negative on 2 consecutive days before being allowed back in the ring. This effectively adds an extra day to the isolation, so 6 days total. Which means that for day 1 on Saturday, the current status is that everything is going ahead as planned. Everyone who is advertised for the show is currently planned to be there. Of course, things can change between now and then because it's bloody COVID, isn't it? But as of right now, day 1 shouldn't be in danger of being subjected to rushed changes. Which is good because according to Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, a big angle is expected at day 1 surrounding the Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman situation, which will have WrestleMania implications. So Paul Heyman betrays Brock Lesnar and Brock faces Reigns again at WrestleMania. Glad we're all on the same page. And finally, in the updates about yesterday's stories section, Jimmy Wang Yang has denied that he left his WWE producer tryout role voluntarily, saying it was WWE that actually decided to pass on him, as it takes a lot for him to quit a role, but he also mentioned that we haven't seen the last of him yet. Veer Mahaan coming to Raw. We've seen Veer coming for months now, without any sign of it slowing down. Yep, that's the wording I'm going with. We've got an update on Veer coming, courtesy of Fightful Select, who note that there was no real rhyme or reason for splitting Veer from his team of Jinder Mahal and Shanky, and for a while, many thought he would just be inexplicably moved back to SmackDown to join them. I mean, yeah, that checks out. And as for the mysterious Veer, where's he actually been? Turns out, he's been at Raw. Since October, Veer has appeared on several episodes of WWE Main Event, beating Cedric Alexander, T-Bar, and John Morrison. He's also been at episodes of Raw in which he was not booked for, we're told. As far as creative plans, Fightful was told that as of the time the videos began airing, there were no significant creative plans in place for Veer or his debut. We're not sure if that has changed since then, but we're also told by WWE sources they are self-aware of the comedic nature behind stretching this out. WWE being self-aware? Surely not. But yes, please continue stretching out this debut for months to come. It will only make the debut worse. I'm all for it. Maybe that could be the tagline for WrestleMania 39. WrestleMania 39. Veer Mahaan, coming soon. Honestly, it might be better than the most stupendous 2-night WrestleMania in history, which is what they're going with for WrestleMania 38. Killer Kross, the former Karrion Kross, and Scarlett Bordeaux appeared on Renee Paquette's Oral Sessions podcast recently, where they spoke on gimmick changes, that main roster run that Kross had, and being released by WWE. When I went up and they asked me to do the match with Jeff and put him over, I said sure, that's fine. I grew up a fan of Jeff, and then getting to meet Jeff and him being really cool was an awesome experience for me. He was one of the coolest people I've ever met. I remember one of the agents came to me and said, "There's a long-term plan for this, so don't sweat it. Don't worry." I'm like, okay, cool. I do my entrance, I get out there, and the ref bumps me and says, "Your 10-minute match is down to 90 seconds. The first time we're working on television. We don't really know each other in the ring, like our rhythm. They came back from a commercial and I'm trying not to laugh. If you go back and watch it, I'm smiling, closed mouth, trying to hold it back. As soon as Jeff got in the ring, I snatched him and called what we needed to do. And that was it. Imagine being told after you're in the ring that you now have 90 seconds instead of 10 minutes. Incredible stuff, WWE. Saying how he felt the release coming ahead of time, Kross said, "My intuition intuitively was telling me that everything was off. Everything felt wrong, and I felt something bad coming 4 months before it happened. But everyone I would talk to said, everybody loves you. We have no problems. But I felt it coming." Like Veer Mahaan coming? Or... And let's end with some numbers, shall we? Because the viewership figures for last week's episodes of SmackDown and Rampage are in. SmackDown's pre-taped Christmas Eve episode drew an average of 1.972 million viewers, which is significant as it's the only time on Fox that number has fallen below 2 million since the return of fans to shows earlier this year. However, it was a pre-taped episode on Christmas Eve, so you know. AEW Rampage, which was pre-taped and aired on Christmas Day, remarkably did better than usual though, drawing an average of 589,000 viewers, their highest number since November 5th. The show aired at 9 PM EST on Saturday, Christmas Day, as opposed to their usual 10 PM EST on Friday immediately after SmackDown slot. There's no edited NXT review today from Tempest as he's off for the holiday period, but Andy Datson and I will be reviewing NXT 2.0 in full later today on the WrestleTalk podcast channel, so subscribe over there for your fix of 2.0 if that's your thing.
Elephants go on stools.
They do. Elephants
Did you do the stool? Oh, it's on a fucking stool!
Stool. Oh my god.
Morons unite!
Everyone's morons. None of us said the stool before.
We're on the same team, Rosie!
You said it was a vessel. That was a vessel. And the blip was a vessel.
I've just been honest at every turn.
I miss hell. I miss hell.